So yes, Rhyme Nation family, welcome back to the channel. Hope everyone is doing good today. So yes, Rhyme Nation family, 71-year-old Leroy Smith came to Jamaica to bury his beloved brother, and it was time for him to return back home. Mr. Smith fell down and hit his head in the check-in area of the airport, which is a Sangsters International Airport in Montego Bay, St. James. A representative from the airport contacted the niece of Mr. Smith and explained to the niece that an accident had happened to Mr. Smith, but them never disclosed what really happened to Mr. Smith. Them only say Mr. Smith had an accident. Rhyme Nation family, and them need a family member to come to the airport. So the niece contacted the nephew who had brought Mr. Smith to the airport, and then some 40 minutes after, she contacted back the airport, and she was speaking to a representative who said that they were performing CPR on Mr. Smith, and then now them cover up Mr. Smith with the sheet. So the niece say, what happened? Them only say, oh, they were performing CPR on Mr. Smith, and them cover up Mr. Smith with the sheet. She can't give them much information. You see me? So Mr. Smith end up passed away. Rhyme Nation family. So now an eyewitness saw what happened and did a TikTok video, and she said that they were there, like some 20 to 30 minutes, if I'm not mistaken, before a nurse came to render Mr. Smith some help. Rhyme Nation family. Them said the single-use ambulance that is at the Carnival Regional Hospital in Montego Bay, same way, is not available. I'm talk again so I understand what I say. The single-use ambulance that is at the Carnival Regional Hospital is not available. So all them did I say in the report that they had called an ambulance and the ambulance up on the way. So here the part I know. Them say for them get an ambulance in a Rhyme Nation family, the family have to confirm the $400 before them can get the ambulance. So you try to tell me, say no. True, the family never confirm or maybe never have the money to pay for the ambulance that no make the man dead. And even the nurse are saying in a Rhyme Nation family say, yo, why you not get a taxi? The lady who did the video say, yo, she even said that she would have paid the money for the taxi so they could bring the man to the hospital to get some, help or to seek medical attention, yeah. But they met the man drop out. Rhyme Nation family. Rhyme Nation family, me I tell her say, if you don't have money in this, you're not dead in this, me I tell her big airport. Big international airport. Rhyme Nation family. Met the man did it some 20 to 30 minutes before a nurse come and them did a play around with the man till the man drop out. Rhyme Nation family. And then in the report, them say them come there within minutes. Yeah, 20 to 30 minutes to render the man some help. And then on a lie say an ambulance up on the way. And then the eyewitness recounts that them say the family have to confirm or pay the $400 before an ambulance can come to the airport. And even the nurse end up say, yo, no, get the car, get a taxi. The lady I say, yo, she will pay for it. The eyewitness who did the video. I tell you, say this slack Rhyme Nation family for a big international airport like this. So right about now, I'm going to watch the interview with TVJ, and then afterwards I'm going to take a look on the video with the eyewitness recounts what happened right nation. Fam, I tell you, so this is a really sad one. Me not lie. Tell you no. Crazy.
71-year-old Leroy Smith visited Jamaica to bury his brother. On Wednesday, it was time to return home. His nephew carried him to the Sangster International Airport, but in a shocking turn of events, Mr. Smith collapsed near the check-in area. A representative from the airport then contacted his niece. She was told,
Mr. Smith had an accident and we need our family to come back to the airport. I asked what's happening. The person said she was unable to give me much information over the phone at the time and that Mr. Smith had an accident. All she can say is that he had an accident and he's on the floor.
She hung up and alerted the nephew who transported Mr. Smith to the airport. When she called back the representative, she heard,
he's still on the floor and he's unconscious and they're going to perform CPR. All right. So I said, do you have an ambulance to rush him to the hospital? She said, the ambulance is on the way.
Distressed, she made repeated calls for some 20 to 35 minutes. Still,
all I'm hearing is they're doing CPR and ambulance is on the way. And to the point where I'm like, are you telling me that there is nothing else that can be done? He's just on the floor like that?
Approaching 40 minutes, she called again, eager for an update. The update left her perplexed.
She said, I cannot disclose anything. We were doing CPR. They were doing CPR on him, and now they cover him up. Mr. Miss, what do you mean them cover him up? What that mean? Did he die?
Sadly, he did. MBJ Airports Limited released a statement 2 days later saying the airport staff were alerted to a passenger in medical distress. It says emergency response protocols were immediately activated, with on-site medical personnel arriving within minutes. The airport said during that time, an ambulance was also called to the scene. The release doesn't say if or what time the ambulance would have arrived. Transport Minister Darrell Vaz says he's seen this viral video from a passenger detailing the incident.
The nurse was saying if they can't get the ambulance, then they'll get the taxi. Mr. Miss, get the taxi. I'll pay the money for him. I'll pay the taxi fee. Get the taxi. Get the taxi.
We contacted the woman afterwards. She says they were alone with the man for quite some time and that blood was running from his nose.
The nurse had come, which was about, I would say 20 minutes to half an hour after he fell. The nurse had come and she started to do whatever she needed to do.
Mr. Vaz has since requested a full report on the incident.
My report will be able to speak specifically to what happened because there are cameras there, CCTV cameras, and therefore everything should be to the second in relation from when the incident happened to when he was removed.
Mr. Vaz added that MBJ Airports has a contractual arrangement with Hospital in relation to medical services, which includes ambulances.
My understanding when I asked is that they have access to up to 7 ambulances, and the proximity from Hospital to Montego Bay Airport is not that far.
The man stayed right there on the floor and died. The man died on the floor. He died. My God. Hi, everyone. This is not something that I normally do. As a matter of fact, I've never done it before. But I believe that there is a need to do this today. I'm doing this. I'm live at this Sangsters International Airport on my way back home to America. Taking flight JetBlue. So we arrived at the airport just about 11 o'clock there. A gentleman was behind me, one of the agents, speaking to another man. But I didn't pay them much attention, but I know they were talking. And then I just heard like somebody fell. I looked behind me. It was the passenger, an elderly man that fell. Blood was coming, I think, from his nose. And the agent who he was talking to, who had just stepped off for a little, just turned his back, turned around and, took up his head and tried to clear his passages. And I was saying, somebody call 911. or 119, whatever the case is. And I was saying to him, give him CPR. But he said to me, he's breathing. He's breathing, and of truth, he was breathing and doing a little bit of shuffling, a slight shuffling. So when I saw a lot of blood coming from his head, I couldn't see the wound, but the blood was on the floor on his head. So I went into his bag. I saw his passport. No, his passport was on the ground beside him. So I took it up, put it in his bag. I looked at his bag and I saw his name, the name tag on the bag. So I could say what his name was. And then I was saying to the gentleman, we were there conversing, and I said, somebody call help. So in the meantime, I guess somebody was making a call. Somebody did say that they called whatever. I think they said operations or something. Right? And while they were there, nobody, and it took about between 20 minutes and half an hour for a lone nurse to come by. Right? And while the man was there, while the young guy was there with him, trying to keep his head up and all of that, I went into his bag and I saw a roll of tissue. And I gave him the roll of tissue, the entire roll, and tell him to press it on the wound. Try to press it on the wound on the head. Anyways, the nurse finally came and she said she was checking his oxygen, in the meantime, I took out his phone. I got his phone and was searching his phone to see if we could find a number, a recent number. And we were making calls using our phone. And because we couldn't place any calls on his phone. And then the JetBlue lady came and she took his phone and she went on the phone. Myself and her, we were going through it to find a number that we think we could call. So she called the number. While she was calling the number, another gentleman who came, I don't know who he represents, but he's with the airport. He had on one of those vests. And he was saying, tell the, because we got through to the person on the phone, and the lady was telling him that, the customer, I won't say his name, the passenger, he collapsed, and he's at the airport. So she said she was trying to get somebody, He was there now telling us to tell him, or telling the JetBlue lady to tell the person on the phone that the single ambulance that is at Cornwall Regional is not available. And for them to call a private ambulance, the person on the phone has to approve the payment of $400. They have to confirm that it's okay for them to call the ambulance and noting the payment of $400. So I said, we have to wait for them to do that to get help for the man. The man need help. I saw the man gap. I've never seen somebody gap, or what they call it, catch breath, in my entire life. First time I'm seeing that. Right? And the man was gapping. Right? And the man was saying, so I said, why you need to tell them that? Why you need to get $400, or to confirm that then we pay $400 before you call that? You understand? So that is stupid. So the nurse was saying, if they can't get the ambulance, then they'll get the taxi. Miss, get the taxi. I'll pay the money for him. I'll pay the taxi fee. Get the taxi. You understand? So they tried to let me know that it's protocol, and they have to get the approval from the family member to call the ambulance. They call it private ambulance, which will cost $400. The man at the airport waiting and ready to go back to America, taking JetBlue, right? And he would have paid his fare to go on the flight. So I'm saying, could not JetBlue or even the airport take that cost? They have to depend, or they have to wait until a family member says that it's okay to go ahead and call the ambulance. Mark, the man came to the airport, whoever got him there left him, an elderly man. Understand? And I'm saying, come on, man. That is how we do things here. Because people are going to talk about you have to get approval to call an ambulance. Look how many people travel in the airport daily. Hundreds of thousands of people travel through the airport daily. And we don't have nothing in place for things like this. We don't have nothing in place for things like this. It just made me wonder if it was a white person, if it would have been the same treatment. I'm thinking this could happen to anybody. It could happen to me. It could happen to anybody at all, right? Did I just stay there and die? It takes so long to make a decision when people's life is dependent on it. We have to do better. Jamaica, JetBlue, I'm calling you out on this one because you should have been there for the man. You shouldn't be asking that question. He was your passenger and him at the airport and he was talking to an agent, right? Getting whatever information he needed to get on the plane to check in, and he collapsed right there. All of that come talk about. We have to get approval from the family to call an ambulance to pay $400 first to find out how, if they're gonna pay $400 before. Man, this is one of the worst experiences I've ever had worst experience I've ever had in my entire life. You know, I'm calling out whoever is in charge of stuff like these, man. They need to do better. There should be an area in the airport to reach people. One ambulance, the Cornwall Regional Hospital, one ambulance, and because it is not available, a private ambulance has to be called, and before it is called, there has to be confirmation, right? Or whatever that the $400, it's okay to call them. We will pay the $400. Oh, Jesus. God help us. God help us, man.